I've always had a love of sound and music. When I was about 5 years old, I used to carry on a cassette recorder and record all the strange sounds in my house, and also tape the songs off the radio I liked. And that sort of set me on a lifelong journey to discover this sort of world that is out there of unusual and fascinating and emotional music.
I can remember very clearly watching films in the cinema where you're kind of overwhelmed by the scale of not only the picture but the sound. And up to the age of about 9 or 10, I felt like I wanted to be a part of the noise that was made that made me feel the way I felt.
I think everyone can relate to the emotional power of music. It's one of the few things that is so intrinsically connected to the sort of emotional map of your life.
Music's an extraordinarily powerful memory reservoir. Obviously within that, then you've got some of the most powerful film scores ever made, defining Bond films.
Well, the Bond theme has been with us as long as the Bond film series has been with us. So for 60 years, it's been a part of life in this country. One of the most famous film themes ever written, oft imitated, never bettered.
There's been multiple music scores over the years of Bond that have been recorded at Abbey Road, such as Skyfall and Spectre, both of which were actually recorded on our loudspeakers.
Bowers and Wilkins have been here since long before me. They've been trusted by engineers for generations. Everything really about the speakers is kind of no compromise, and that's the same way that we approach recording.
When the directors and sometimes actors and producers come along, I get them to do two things. I get them to stand in the room with the orchestra to appreciate the brilliance of the performance. But then I come back into the room and I said, let's just listen to this just with the music and the picture, because you will never hear this again like this.
It's an amazing experience to get a first-hand seat at a talent such as David Arnold. Getting to sit in that room and feel the power of this orchestra recreated is just a breathtaking spectacle to behold. For the 60th anniversary of Bond, we thought the sort of fitting way to celebrate our history was to focus on the history of the music in the films. So we partnered with Bowers and Wilkins on their Px8 007 edition headphones.
Bowers and Wilkins came to us and said, we're looking to do this partnership with Bond. Can you go away, research it, come back with some ideas? We were discussing things with Eon Production, and we managed to go to meet their archivist, Meg.
I took samples from every decade of Bond, from sort of hand props to costume to, gadgets, and let them kind of look and see what related to their project.
What we focused on was the very first time you meet James Bond.
The moment you see him, you're looking at this arm which comes into shot, and then it just reveals him, beautiful Connery, in the midnight blue tuxedo with the shawl collar and the slightly rounded silk cuffs and the 3 buttons with the button open.
He looked like you would want James Bond to look. He felt dangerous and he felt confident, and the music's doing all that as well. So the combination of those two things, all of a sudden you go like, oh, that's the guy, him.
This is such an iconic image of Bond, and so that was really our starting point for the sort of the colourways we chose for these headphones.
The premise of the 007 edition is pretty straightforward. It takes all of the acoustic advances that make that product so special, and it dresses it in an exclusive, bespoke suit.
I like minimal things, really, and I think that they're just sophisticated and subtle, and I just love blue. What can I say?
Bowers and Wilkins put into this product elegance and glamour. There's a quality to it, a high quality, and that's very Bond.
Bowers and Wilkins aim to develop absolutely the finest reproduction of sound that you can get, and that goes from right up at the 800 series all the way down to the more affordable speakers, and the Px8 007 editions are the flagship version of that. They use the finest materials, the active noise cancellation is fantastic, the talk is fantastic.
We apply this philosophy of true sound, which is about trying to recapture the artist's performance as it was originally intended and making sure that the end customer gets that in whatever product they're listening to. I think our production process probably mirrors very closely that of the Bond movie production process, in that we're about performance, creating the best possible product we can.
That just feel like the kind of quality objects that the character of Bond would want to be associated with.
There's almost an obsession about the craft here. You can tell there's an obsession about the detail.
I think would kind of identify with this sort of spirit of what James Bond's supposed to be about, perfection and the aspirations around elegance, class and style.